Besem Ab, Wolde, Womanfest Kedus, Ahadu Amlak, Amen. Good evening, clergymen, fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, and young people in Christ the Lord. And with the love of his mother, the Holy Virgin Mary, be with us this evening. Salam, Malcolm Meshit, Etsawist, Abatoch, Enatoch, Wundermoch, Ehetoch, Ena Wutatoch, Begeta, Bekristos, Ena Leedeto, Lekadis Dingil Mariam, Belau, Fekere Zare, Umeshashe, Keena Gere Yahun. Tserha Welde Amanu'el now. My name is Welde Amanu'el, member of St. Mary of Tserha Tsion Church and host of the talk show, Life's Journey. For those of you who are watching it for the first time, we welcome you. And for those who have watched it previous shows, it is still available to watch on YouTube and Facebook platform. My guests, previous guests were Amde Mariam, Deacon Wolde Maskel, Berhan Maskel, Trsite Selassie, and Gebre Medin, whose journeys have been recorded and have been added to the history lesson of our church and community. Being the first Ethiopian church in the UK, it helped to bridge the gap between the Black of the diaspora and the Ethiopians in Africa. In ancient times, Africa was called Akabuland. So good evening and welcome back to Life's Journey, the talk show that reveals a personal journey of my guests, starting from their childhood memories up to the present day. First of all, I'm very sorry to disappoint you, my listeners, that there was no show over the last 2 months. The reason was that 2 of my guests were unwell. But thanks be to God, they are now feeling much better. Tonight's show, we will be covering over 80 years of life experience by a well-loved mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and godmother who has been sharing her time within our community. So we shall be covering the following decades: the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, 90s, the 2000s, and the 10s. Yes, that's right. 8 decades to the present time, some 70 years, which includes 42 years as a member of Tserha Tsion, and how she connected with many generations before, both from the Afro-Caribbean and the Ethiopian community. So tonight, through the eyes and experience of my guests this evening, by the grace of God, and she is relaxing in her home, ready to take us on her life's journey through the Caribbean, the United Kingdom, Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and Ethiopia. So whether you're sitting back, relaxing, or working, make yourselves comfortable and listen up. My question to you, my listeners, is how important is church history and the advice and guidance from the elders? Please share your views on this point, and it may be read out during the next talk show. So please leave your comments. Don't forget though, please click the like button and subscribe. So on with the show. My guest was born into a family of 3 in the parish of St. Andrews in Kingston, Jamaica, in the Caribbean. As a war child during the primary school days, on some occasion, she had to run for cover from low-flying military aircrafts. As a strong, vibrant young lady rooted in the Christian tradition and going through the school system before Jamaica's independence, she experienced life under the first Prime Minister, Alexander Bustamante, under following Prime Ministers. She traveled alone to the United Kingdom in 1960 to join her family at the age of 22. She was around during the early period of the first Ethiopian Orthodox Church in London during the late 70s. She has always lived the Christian life as handed down to her by her family with the cultural expectations. She's an inquisitive person, which led her to visit different churches to see how they conduct their services. And this went on for quite some time. My guest discovered the Ethiopian Orthodox Church as a middle-aged lady in the late 1970s through a friend that was a member of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. And she traveled and visited it with another friend who was later to become her husband. Her working career include working as a trained electrical components assembler and a machinist. She is now the only sibling who is still living this earthly life, as her sisters have transitioned this life. And so it's a great honor and a privilege to welcome this evening Ehet Mariam, also known as, by many, Mama Shirley, as well as her name, Shirley Morgan. Welcome to Life's Journey, Ehet Mariam, Mama Shirley.
Thank you, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to the rest of this journey so far. Yes, I'm here. Yes, thanking you as well, and each and every one that contributed to this cause.
Thank you, Mama Shirley. So I have chosen some points of interest, Mama Shirley, for further discussion that will light up your life's journey for my listeners.
Okay.
So take my listeners back to the early days of fond memories as a child growing up in Kingston, Jamaica's capital city, with your siblings, and how you avoided aeroplanes flying in your hometown during the late 30s and 40s before the age of 11.
Yes, aeroplanes fly over ground, not on the ground. But as children, when you see these things happening, you don't know, what can you think? This is coming to get me. So we all start running towards the building of the school, because we were in the playground on that day when this incident happened. Not that I haven't seen them before, but not so close. And as we were all running to safety, kids start falling over each other. I was one of the victims, because obviously I didn't run fast enough. And so many others fell on top of me. So I was hurt. I hurt my arm, my right arm, which I carried that scar until today. That didn't stop me from, moving on in life, going to school, further on my education. I wasn't a top student, but a scholar, but a middle class, so I did what I was able to do. And I left school senior years at the age of nearly 17, because what happened is I only found the virtue and the value of school as I grow older. And so I disguised myself in the school for a whole year without the headmistress or the headmaster knowing that I was still there, because I was supposed to be out of school by then. But I was so attached to school that I still kept going to school without them noticing that I'm not on the register anymore. I shouldn't have been on the register. But that didn't do me any harm, because I benefited for it. And growing up, yes, about from early age, I'm involved in going to church. Even if my parents didn't go, I had to go. On a Sunday, you shine like the sun going to school, because whatever oil that they use in your hair, they also use it on your skin. And so by the time the heat catches you, the way you leave home, you come back home like you've been on a holiday, because the sun was so hot. But you had to go, and you had to share that. You have to come back home and show what you've learned at Sunday school. And you get little prizes, little gifts on a Sunday if you did well. And if you're a bright student, you've been credited for it. So those were fun days. And I enjoyed doing it. I'm not sorry now that I didn't, because I'm growing up, and I search into different churches, different religions that didn't appeal to me, but I feel that I had to get involved because it says God. And once God is mentioned, I just felt that I should be there. Now,
we will be moving on, Mama Shirley, to your interaction within the church. But this first point, you've covered quite a bit there into your adulthood. But how do you think he was able to get away with spending an extra year in school? I mean, that sounds like you must have been very clever to get that one off, to pull that off.
well, I never thought I was clever at the time. I just thought I was cheating. But because when you finish school, I don't know where you end your school years, but in Jamaica, when you finish, you're supposed to have a kind of exit from the school by the teachers telling you that your time is up, and the next term you should not be in school unless you're studying. But what I did, I said nothing about it. What the headmaster or the headmistress tells you, the teachers in the classroom is not aware that your time is up. So this is where I got away with it.
Okay.
Right? Yes. So
okay.
I still go to my classes and my lessons as normal, and they still have my name on the register. So you know, I was able to get away with it, and I utilize it. You know, so
that's good. Yeah.
yes.
Mama Shirley, in regards to the early days in school, have you come across any of those children you played with? Do you know if they're still alive? Have you been in contact with any of them, or is just that something that has just been left behind?
I had a couple of friends that yes, we come from, I just say, way back a yard, right? And we went to school together, but they've now passed on as well, unfortunately. You know, yes, they've passed on, and so I have no. The last one that died not too long ago. Both her and her husband, we knew each other from school days in Jamaica, and we united when you came to England. So they were still my friends, and yes, as I said, you know, most of friends and family of my age group, and yeah, a lot of them has passed on, so they're no longer here to communicate with. But
so, Mama Shirley, in regards to the schooling, I know that the teachers were very strict when it comes to education. Did you have any unfortunate incidents with your teacher, or was you the perfect good student throughout?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. I was far from perfect. But I tried to be a friend. I don't know if I try to keep away from. When I speak like this, don't think that I was proud or any class distinction there, but I would try to keep myself from the ones that I think was a problem all the time. Right? Hello and goodbye, but I was never friends that we go to the shop together or things like that. So I got into trouble once, and a very, very, very bad, serious problems where I hit someone that was a boy, and I hit him at the wrong place, and then he ended up in hospital, but he lived to tell the tales. But not that I meant to hurt him, but to hurt him that badly or that way. I meant to hurt him, but not that. No. And yes, I wasn't arrested or anything, but it was a sad time because he ended up in hospital. Okay. And yes, and
so Mama Shirley, in terms of your parents, what were the names, and did they have a great influence on your journey into adulthood? Is there things that advice and so on that you remember coming from those who raised you?
I remember a lot from, people always talk about the grandparents. Well, I hadn't had a lot of time spent with my grandparents, but I knew my grandmother. I didn't know my grandfather. And I spent little time with her, but the person I grew up with, that I call mother and grandmother, she taught me a lot. And she was involved in the Rastafarian movements that, although she was baptized as a Church of England, she got married as Church of England, but for some reason she used to love the Haile Selassie craze in those days, so as much as I was with her, I stick to church, going to church, not to Rasta meetings or anything. I love the music, I love the drumming and everything, but for some reason I just never got involved.
Would you say, would that be in the 50s?
That would be, yes, in the 50s.
Yes,
because,
okay, very early days, right.
Yeah, early 50s, yes, early 50s as well. And
just, carry on.
Coming up to in the late 40s, early 50s, yes.
Okay. Just going back to your school for the last time, is there a teacher that you would always remember for some advice or something that has helped you on your journey? And so
a teacher, I wouldn't say so. No, I didn't have a teacher that was that interested in what your journey was going to be ahead of you. But the encouragement to all, universal, is that they would tell you in a classroom how you should behave, the things you should and shouldn't do. That is encouragement. But I didn't have a one-to-one teacher, like say, that teacher took interest in me, what my future was going to be. And no, I didn't have that. I didn't have that. I had that at home. It was created for me by my same stepmother I told you about. And her name was Margaret Edwards. And we call her, for short, Maggie. So she was known as Miss Maggie by everyone, or Granny, So this is where I got my encouragement from, growing up as a girl, and growing up in Kingston as well. It wasn't easy for girls or boys, and you have to start out very early in life to start making a livelihood. you know. But
Okay.
again, I wasn't lazy, but there was some things that I just wouldn't do just because it was going to pay me a wages, like genital work. And, you know, I detest those things because I could feel slavery
Okay.
around me at that, if I had to do things like that, because it wasn't easy work. And as long hours, I see people used to be going to work and coming home, you know. But so when I was in Jamaica, I only worked once before I came to this country, and I worked in a shop. And then the rest of my time I was on learning dressmaking, seamstress. Then I went on to try my hands at hairdressing. And then I didn't have a certificate for any of them because dressmaking was what was forced upon me. And so I spent most of my time learning that. And when I started to get interest, get onto hairdressing, then I was on my way to this country.
I have a feeling now that you've mentioned these two skills, Mama Shirley, you might find that members might be seeking your advice around hair and dressmaking.
Yeah,
you never know.
They wouldn't seek my advice on hair because those hairs in my days never grow as fast as these ones here. You know, because the shortest hair reaches down their back and you know, halfway down their shoulders, and they can always take it off and put it back on. In my days, your hair was your hair. Yes, that's it. Your hair.
All right. Okay. Mama Shirley, you are a mother to 7 children, and you have grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and your godmother to 15 children. Please share with us, if you can remember their names, tell us their names and how they are doing. And does any of them you think might follow in your footsteps?
Follow in my footsteps, my grandchildren. You want my children name first?
Yes, you can do it in any order, but children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren.
Yes, my children is Jackie, Anthony, Tony, Dennis that passed away, Jamron, you know him, Metesabia, you know her, Roy, and Kim.
Right.
That's children, yes.
Right, yes.
Grandchildren, oh dear. I can't remember all the names, to be honest, but I'll try.
What you can do, you can mention the mother or the father, and then just say maybe 2 boys, 3 girls, like that, if you can't remember the names.
Not all the names. Jackie's one daughter, she's got Tony, he's got 9. Mettie's got 5. Roy's got 1. Kim's got 2. Jamron's got 2. And who's missing? Jamron, Mettie, and yeah, Dennis has got 3. Dennis, that's the one that passed away. Okay. So those are my
20 I count that as 23 grandchildren.
That's my children's children, yes.
Yeah, grandchildren, okay. And then you have great-grandchildren?
Yes, I've got great-grandchildren. One granddaughter's got 5. She's on her way to 5. She's got 4. Okay. Another granddaughter's got 2. Another granddaughter's got 2. Another granddaughter's got 1. Another granddaughter's got 4. Oh dear. Four. Yeah, I think I've counted all the great grand so far.
Okay, so that is 13 great grand. Okay, and you have 15 godchildren, isn't it? You
Yes,
said
in church, yeah.
in the church. Okay.
Yes, because I
So
didn't just have godchildren in the church. I have got godchildren outside of the church as well. That is not
okay,
baptized. Yes, yes.
right. Okay, so you're a mother to many. I think your name's going to live on for quite some time.
Well, I know
going through all the generations.
by the time, yes, if Corona allow them, you know, because COVID-19 is coming like a Zoom now to take out as many as they can. So let's hope that the good Lord keep us all, you know, and keep them all. Yes.
Indeed. Mama Shirley, you lived in the Midlands for 20 years and then you decided to move to London.
Yes.
How did this come about? What was the reason for that? Would you like to share that?
Yes, I don't mind sharing it. The reason for me leaving the Midlands to come to live in London is because I was trying to get away from a situation that I was in when I lived in the Midlands, and that situation was too overwhelming for me at a certain point, and I decided that you know, I need to get out of that and start a new somewhere else. And London wasn't my favorite place in the beginning because living in the Midlands for many years, I usually see London as one big mess with the population, and you know, when you come to London, the pollution and all that was overwhelming here. But eventually, when you know my back was against the wall, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna get because I had my sister here as well in London, so I was able to come to London and join her.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Now, Mama Shirley, during the early the 60s and the 70s, we now know that institutions were racist. They call it institutional racism. And it was at its height during those times. Now, with racism, it was in the police, it was in the schools, it was in the prison staff, it was in the criminal justice system, etc. But you said during your working career, you experienced little racism. But on the other hand, you found that working with women was more problematic. Why was that? And how do you consider racism today? Does it concern you?
Racism today, compared to that time, I'm more aware now of racism and the pressure that it puts on Black people. I think because just coming to this country, and I never saw it as racism. I didn't know that. I just wasn't aware of what was going on as racism. I just thought people just feel a way about you because of your skin color. But when it comes to the topic of racism, I know that there were these people called teddy boys, and those people were mostly in London, not in the Midlands. You see, and when you live where I live in the Midlands, everybody seemed to, you know, get on with each other. It's only in the workplace that you find that I had a lot of confrontation with the women that are overseeing you as a worker, right? The men are fine. But when it comes to women, they're always challenging. They always show you that resentment, like they want you to do more all the time. And so this is where my problem came in, when I felt that they were trying to put extra pressure on. So in a few cases, I had to defend, stand up and defend myself against the institution that they want to run in the workplace. So yes, I even come upon a situation where the overseer, the forewoman, as you call them, that was supposed to be seeing over the jobs and giving people a little, well, it's not even overtime, it's overwork, because the wages were so small that people had to work extra time to make their money up. And so Saturdays was a time when you would go in and make some extra money. And she tried to avoid giving me any chance for that. So what I did, I went in, because I know the other people that I was working alongside were going in. And so I attended, I'll go to work as well. And she confronted me about that. And I said to her, well, if we're working as a group, right, I don't see why I should be exempted. So if the others are here, I should be here too. And so we had a dispute about that, went to the union, and I won my argument, But yes, so yes, I experienced a bit, but I didn't, as I said to you, I wasn't aware of it when I first came to this country in the 60s.
Yeah. Thank you, Mama Shirley. We all know that it is being aired more and more with all the violence and crime and institutionalizing of young black people, especially young black men. They seem to overrepresent the prison systems, and they are slowly realizing that it is not how it should be. So I hope that things slowly progress in a positive way, and hopefully that won't be an issue that's going to blight our people from developing in all different levels within society, because it starts within the school and it continues outside the school into your adulthood. In fact, if you're not careful, right through your whole working career. But Mama Shirley, you mentioned that you had a friend who seemed to quote a lot about the late His Imperial Majesty Emperor Selassie I's speeches. And did Marcus Garvey, and you did mention about the Rastafarism, you highlighted a little bit that you liked the drum beat, you liked the music, but you just couldn't join on that spiritual level. But growing up in Jamaica and your time in the UK, did it have a positive image in your mind of Africa, or how did you feel about that?
Not just here. I had that thought about Africa ever since I was growing up. As I said, my stepmother spoke a lot about Africa and Haile Selassie. What I couldn't get my head into is, and I think what put me off as a young person as well is they deal a lot with, as you know, is the Irie herbs and things that they uses, and I couldn't take that side of life with them.
Okay.
So that's why one of the main reasons why I never really got involved. Okay. But to talk about Africa and to have a hope and a view one day that I would love to go there. I always think of it. I always think of that. And it took me all that time, that journey, right, until we got to St. James, and a good Samaritan came along and offered to help me to make that journey to Ethiopia. And I can't thank them enough for doing that, because I appreciate that. The only thing was that when I was in Ethiopia, I didn't get to explore a lot, because I had this is where I realized that I had a bad my breathing was very, very bad, and then I realized that the altitude in
Yes.
Ethiopia, you know,
Yes.
was taking my breath away.
Yes.
So most days I wouldn't go out. I would
Mhm.
stay in, and you know, as I call us the Magnificent Seven, when the seven of us went to Ethiopia, and most days I would say, you know, I'm not going out today, and because I felt like I was holding them back because I was so slow, right?
Okay.
And then yes, so then after I came back, now I was diagnosed with my complaint, which is COPD. So yes, but I'm grateful that I touched the land, you know. Yes, my experience there was an eye opener as well,
Okay.
because yes, I saw what I never really expected to see, and then yes, it was a big eye opener to me about Ethiopia.
Thank you, Mama Shirley. For those of you who are listening and not sure what St. James is, St. James is the church that we, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, Tserha was using. We have since moved on, but it was at that time that my guest, Mama Shirley, traveled to Ethiopia. And as you said, with the breathing problem, Mama Shirley, maybe you do know, but the Addis is like 10,000 feet above sea level. So it's pretty high up there.
I realized that when I got off the plane, yeah.
Yeah. And can you recall, would you like to mention the names of those who you traveled with? For those listeners who don't know.
Yes, not Haile Mariam, Tafari,
Yeah.
his wife,
Uh-huh.
Wolde Berhan and his wife.
Uh-huh.
That's four. And who's the other two?
Well, if you can remember it later, you can mention it, but
Yeah, well, yes,
don't worry.
Yes, I think it's Haile Mariam's mother-in-law.
Okay, yes, okay.
Yes, her and her husband.
Okay, so that's the 7 then.
Yeah.
And you made the 7.
I made
Okay.
7. Yes, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, when you was visiting the church in the early days, you mentioned that your regular trips was done by sharing a car. Now, the other members that you were sharing the car with, one of them was our late father, Malakazion Tesfa Michael Lewis. God rest his soul.
Yes.
You know, you were baptized 42 years ago, and during the same year, you also got married in the church.
Yes.
What was your experience like when you first entered the church? And the sharing of a car as you were going to church on a regular basis?
Yes.
Bring back memories, huh?
Yes. Sharing a car was like it's like a cartoon case, you know, where there's so many. I don't think I can't remember those days if they used to have a limited amount of people that travel into a car on each journey, but I know there was never 5. There was never 5 of us in those cars. It was either 7 or Yes, but we had to get there. So we had to get there, and I remember Tess, for God rest his soul. He had this this mini, and so many of us used to be in that car, and it took us. We had to go and come back, you know. But yeah, that's a determination you had to get to that destination, and you know, I appreciate that now, because at least he could have gone about his business and you know, never bothered to get us there, because we struggled by public transport for years, train and buses, you know, to come and to go. And then it came to the time where you start preparing food and drink. And imagine you have to pack all those things and carry them in a bag and basket and whatever to get to church, so that after service you could, you and yourself and your family and other families can have something to eat and drink.
Right.
So yes, those days were fun days, and I wouldn't swap them for today at all.
Okay, Mama Shirley, what about when you what was your first experience when you stepped into the church? Can you remember what it was like?
The building.
The very first.
Yes, I remember when I first stepped into the building. It was a Sunday, and I tried hard to remember the date, because I know Tess for Mariam, he was getting married in September, and I went to the church about August, July to August. I remember it was a sunny morning anyway, summer morning. And when I heard about it before I went, and I was, you know, really saying that I didn't want to know, I didn't want to go, but I was persuaded to go by Hailey and my friend that introduced us to the church. And eventually, Tesfa came to get us that Sunday morning. And he had with him Tafari at the time. And it was myself, Hailey, and Jamron was just a baby. So we all went from Finsbury Park, changed journey in between to get to Ladbroke Grove, where the church was at the time, Denby Road. And when I first went there, it wasn't as what I was told about, you know, it was overcrowded with Rastafarians and all that, because when Hailey first went, he went for a midnight mass, I think. And so that time there was a more vast amount of people there. When I went on a Sunday, what I was intrigued by is the service, the way how the service was conducted, the look, the way the youth, the deacons were dressed. It was something that I hadn't seen in all the churches that I had been in before.
Okay.
And straight away I see that I see what Chris was telling me about. It's from Africa, you know, man. This you must come and see, man, because it's the real thing. And you know, so I saw the real thing then when I went, and that convinced me that this is where I want to be. Since that day, I hardly miss a Sunday.
Yes.
Hardly miss a Sunday from church. And if I'm not well, then I'm not there. And when I'm well, I'm back. So, and it continued until today.
So, Mama Shirley, how long would it have been entering the church and then getting baptized? Was it like
It
6
wasn't long.
months, a year?
Yeah, no, it wasn't quite 6 months, because
Okay.
I July, August, September, October. Yes, I would say it was about 3 to 4 months. It wasn't 6 months.
Okay.
It
And
wasn't.
in regards to your marriage, because you got married that same year,
Yes,
do you have any? Do you remember the sort of a preparation before going into the church? Was there a lot of things you had to consider, and did the day go just as you planned? How
No,
was it?
the day went as planned at the beginning, and then when I got to the church, I did about 6 circles around the church and the different streets up there because I really wasn't nowhere to be seen. And I thought he changed his mind.
Well, that's a good time to do it, just before.
When I remember Likatikol now, and this brother Mahatima, you know him. He
Yes.
hasn't come up. Yes, him and Tess for Mariam, and they were standing outside on the step because this church had some steps you had to go up to enter the building. And they were just standing there and waving me on every time I come around. Don't stop.
Okay.
Don't stop. He's not here yet. So I think they got lost, because we were living on this side of London. Yeah. And the church was all the way in over Ladbroke side. So yes, they got lost along the way.
You see, Mama Shirley, those days there was no Google Maps and there was no mobile phone.
Yes, that's
so imagine today now that wouldn't be an issue because the phone would be ringing, WhatsApp, everything.
Yes, I know.
Yes. Yeah. For those listeners who are not aware, and most of you I'm sure aware, there was a time when there was no mobile phone. It was just down to people keeping their word and turning up at a certain time. And that's how friendship becomes strong. Mobile phone, no, you can just change your mind quickly and let people know. Okay.
Yes.
But, that sounds, yes, carry on, Mama Shirley.
There was no rehearsal for marriage. At the time we spoke, the priest Abuna Your Highness and Abba Yesus, he was serving in the church at the time, along with Abuna Your Highness, and we have a little talk from him, telling us, what to do, because the church did not have the rights to give you the marriage certificate. So so myself and Tess for Mariam, when we got married, we had the priest for the church, that chapel, come in and sign the register for us. So we had our certificate done by them, and Abba Yesus and Abba Gebre gave us the Ethiopian Orthodox one as well. So with the what we wear over after you enter the church, I wore a hat because I wore a hat because that's what I was used to wearing in church. I wasn't used to the Ethiopian style dresses and all that. So I just wore a hat, and then when I enter, Abba said to take the hat off, and then they put the crown on, and my both my Ali and myself. So we got married dressed in the crown and the short throw over. And then the people around the area, they gathered outside. There was a little crowd out there because they said they never see They will say a black queen.
Yes, king and queen, yeah. Okay.
They never say a black king and queen in London. So.
Maybe they might even looking for a little sort of donation from you or something as a queen.
Yeah, so yes, but yes, so I'll try and get one of those photos as well to from our wedding. To I think one was on a calendar one year, a few years ago,
Okay.
back when we was in St. James as well.
Okay.
About 3 years ago, one was there. One was on the calendar with Haile and myself ceremony.
Okay.
In the church, yes. So yes, those days was memorable. Those are days where you don't forget and you always want to be there. You know, you always want to be there. And sometimes I often wonder, where are all the people that was around in those times? Where are all those people that we were keeping each other warm and, you know, keeping our backs covered? You know.
Thank you, Mama Shirley. Thank you, Mama Shirley, for those who have just joined this program. We have got a lady who is a well-loved mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and godmother, and she's going through 7 decades of her life's journey. And up until this point, I'm sure you found it interesting. I hope you can still continue as we take you further down her life's journey. We have covered the 40s, the 50s, 60s, the 70s. Now we're moving into the 80s and 90s. So, Mama Shirley, during the church's past, there was a time when church services had stopped, and the prayer services was what was continuing in the homes of some of our members. And funny enough, that is similar to what's happening today, where because of COVID, we're finding ourselves having to carry out prayer service in the homes.
There was no.
What was it like? Yeah, what was it like at that time when church services had stopped in the church building and moved into the home? You got any memories of that?
Yeah, well, before we get to that, there was times when our Bible classes used to be held in our homes. We used to go to each other's homes for Bible class. So the idea of you know, gathering and meeting in each other's homes was not new to us. But the other thing is that we had to, the priest had to perform a service, which you couldn't have baptism, you couldn't have the Eucharist, you couldn't, you know.
Yes.
There was no confession or anything to do. I think we just did that to keep ourselves sane, to keep together, to keep the community together, instead of us going off to find other denomination to worship in. To keep the service in our homes was for the people that was really warm towards the Orthodox faith and wanted to know that, you know, it was still going for us. So that's what we used to do. All we used to use is the liturgy. We used to have some handmade liturgies that we used in those times. Right. Because, as you know, the deacons hadn't gone to Ethiopia yet to become priests, to come back to us. So what we used to do try to keep the community together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we used to hold the services in our homes.
Mm-hmm.
And the learned, well, more advanced learners in the church, they used to, you know, just keep things moving, keep things going. And Haile himself, I remember, used to have a Sunday school for the youth here, right here in this house.
Right.
Yes, and some of the kids should, the young people should remember it, but not many might do because they were quite young at the time. But the older ones should remember it.
Okay. So, Mama Shirley, you mentioned briefly about our diacons becoming priestess. So, on their return back from Ethiopia as clergy, as priests, you welcomed them, didn't you? And also a priest was sent to also help and strengthen and support them. Do you have any memories of them returning back, and what was it like?
Oh yes, fun. I remember them returning back. That was very exciting. You know, we had we hired a coach at the time, and a few of the members, you know, we went on the coach to the airport to collect them.
Right.
And to welcome them back in this country. And as priests, you know, they left in ordinary shirt and t-shirt and whatever they wore when they were leaving here. They came back robed in their vestments. And that was exciting for us to see that our young deacons, which some people used to call boys before they leave here, and they came back as men, you know, and yes, they came here. The coach brought them here, and so we had a small gathering here that day just to welcome them home.
Yes.
And the priest that came, he never came at the same time with them. He came afterwards. Not long after, but he came afterwards. He didn't return with the priest. But Berhan, I think he's called. Yes, Kes
Yes.
Solomon. Yes, he came. He was here to help to guide the priests along, to help them to develop more experience that you know, a year could not give them all the experience that they need to have to you know, act as well advanced priests. So he was here to guide them along, to help them.
Okay. Okay, Mama Shirley, thank you for that one. Now you are well known, along with few other sisters who are elders in our church, who have served the community through the hospitality they've received. You are also the one who kept the workers of a joint business venture fed and watered, as you put it. Tell us about how you support. What is this generous spirit in you that allows you to support like this with hospitality? Because it is well known that is one of your characteristics within our church.
Jamaica, man, Jamaica, born and good Jamaica, hard times, and people look out for each other, and food and water is something that is embedded in you as a young person growing up in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And it does not just always being a member of any society. To feed people is a part of me as an individual. Don't care how small or how great. It was my pleasure to serve my people in the church. And I must say, I give highly credit as well for helping out, because a lot of times, even when we don't have the facilities in the church, as I remember when we was in Clapham North, and the people disconnect the gas from the cooker, and
Yes,
yeah, we're highly got this
I
two
remember that. I remember
burner.
that well. Yes.
Yeah, that, and we used to still able to, you know, cook and feed the people. It was just something that I felt was necessary to do, and it gives me pleasure doing it. And so, you know, there's other sisters that, you know, we all chipped in. You know, even when the deacons leave this country and went to Ethiopia to do their duties, all the wives that was left behind, we worked together. We have never separated, right? We always work together to keep each other's back. And no, this is why it doesn't matter what happens along the way. I will never forget these days, the days of hardship between us, and we stuck together. One hand watched the other. And so today, when I see people that, you know, would want to walk away from a situation because it, you know, it's not working for them or it's not happening, we never walk away. We stuck it out, you know. We stuck in there and did what we had to do. The children grew up and saw us bonded. And this is why a lot of the young people today that are growing up in those days, they're still together. They're still together because this is what we showed them as they were growing up. This is what they know us for, you know, and I instilled this in the children. I didn't try to separate them. In fact, what I did was to try and bring us all together, because I think united we stand, and divided, what we do, we're falling down. You know, so for me, what I did in the church, it pleases me. And if I have to do it again, because I remember one time you asked me when you was in church, you said to me, Mama Shirley, when you go to the shop, whose money you use? I said, mine. So you said, no, you should let the church give you some money out of the cash box. I said, no, I can't bother with that. And you took it on yourself and start giving me some money on a Sunday. I don't know if you remember. I do. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Mama Shirley, thank you for that sharing. The thought and the reasonings and the actions behind the serving and hospitality that you've created. Now, as a mother who has established a journey of 42 dynamic journeys, within the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, you've resided in the United Kingdom for 60 years with God's blessing. You're still busy within our community despite COVID-19 restrictions. You've revisited your island of birth and been in Ethiopia. I know that you more or less have given some advice along this journey to my listeners. What about those who are not sure of where life is taking them right now? What sort of words of encouragement would you give them?
That you should not walk with one foot on one side and one on the other. You will never make the journey. Always walk one step behind the other. Now, I think why a lot of people do not, this is my opinion, do not make the journey is that is either they was expecting something that was already, the church itself is already made. It's there. It's not going to change, right? But people sometimes come into a community with a different expectations, and if they do not find what they was expecting, if they don't see it happening the way they're expecting to see it happen, they start to step back. Every journey in this life takes effort. It takes understanding. It takes you don't have to be a scholar, as I always use the word, to a university scholar, because natural everyday life doesn't come through university. It comes through humanity. People do not try to work at a situation. They give up easily, especially when it's to do with God. Why? When it's to do with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, people are so quick to drop it, to put it down and walk away, because they feel that their burden will be lighter. It's not a burden to carry Christ, but we don't have the faith, and we look at each other in negative ways, negative eyes, negative behavior, negative feeling, and that is never going to take us anywhere. For the youngsters, they need guidance. They need more than guidance. They need washing and refurbishing, like how you do an old building, right, to bring it back to new. Because the streets is been too attractive to them, and they seem to want to follow that wide road out there that is taking them to destruction. They don't want to work for what they need to have. They want to get it on a plate. And after they finish with that plate, they want to break it. And the next time they want to be fed again, you'll find a new plate. This is why the generation today is so scattered and wild, because they don't have God in them. They're not walking with God. Even the ones that you try to bring up in the church and to show them how they should live as youngsters, it becomes too much of a burden for them. So they, I can't be bothered with that, man. I can't wake up. I can't, I'm tired. They're always tired when it comes to anything to do with dealing with God. And without God in our lives, where are we going? How far do you think you can go? Without Him, without Him is a long way. And even that way, you're never going to reach anywhere safe. So my encouragement to the people that walk away, what I hate is when someone do not try to put any effort or any time into what is going on, and they ask you what is going on, and when you tell them, they start saying, no, man, someone, if you're not there, if you want to make a building, you have to come and try and put a brick as well. One brick can't build a wall. One brick cannot build a house, right? Each one of us come and put a brick. I know it's going to fall sometime, but you pick up and you move on again. Why are we still there? Why are we still there? Is it because we are getting more benefit than anyone else? The benefits is there for all, but we have to commit ourselves to it. If we don't have no commitment and no trust and no faith in God, then we're doomed. is no help.
Okay. Thank you, Mama Shirley. That was quite a long bit of advice and guidance. Who else but coming from yourself, who is one of our elder states lady. I know that we have listeners. I hope the listeners are taking that on board, and thank you for that. Mama Shirley, we have now come to the part of the program where we ask you to present and discuss the photos that you are that you've selected from your personal archive, and to share with us, our listeners. Okay, Mama Shirley, could you please now share with us picture number 1?
Yes, for me, it was an unusual style of dressing, because we're used to the the veil and net and everything, and
Okay.
that wasn't the case. The way how it was performed and the way how we had to dress, it was impressive to me and to my guests, all the people that attended my wedding that day. Well, our wedding, I should say, Ali and myself. Yes, so it was something new to us, and yes, we still live with that memory, and we're very proud of the way it was performed.
Mm. And a lot of people of your generation would have seen this as something very strange.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. And this was done by Abba Yassas and Abuna Yohannes. Those were the 2 priests that activate that day of the service.
And picture number 2.
Number 2, my interest in that was that because it was the first time that the baptism was taking place after our deacons had returned as priests from Ethiopia, and with the help of I think I'm not sure if he was there, but Berhan, yes, he should have been the one who carried out the performance over the baptism, but I'll see if there's a picture with him in it. Yes, so that was my reason why I wanted to elaborate on this baptism, because it was 2 families, Amahas and Akala Wolde, and so far, one of the family is still there in the church today. Their sons have already grown up and is become a deacon now in our church. So that even more intriguing for the baptism that took place at that time. That's another fruit, another seed that was planted that has grown. And yes, I'm proud of that one as well. That is the baptism.
And for picture number 3.
Ethiopia, yes. As I said, my experience there is no time to elaborate on that, but yes, I've seen things that I had never experienced before in Ethiopia, and if I could do anything to change it, God knows I would, but I can't. I could just help by donations, but at the same time, the country itself is spiritual, it's uplifting. You can learn a lot if only you have the time to be there longer than I spent. I only spent about a fortnight there, 10 days. So that wasn't enough to really explore and see, but I'm grateful for what I saw and the time spent with Abuna Paulus at the time, God rest his soul, and for that meeting that we had with him in his company. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mama Shirley, for sharing those pictures and the thoughts and the memories that goes with them. And I'm sure my listeners have also enjoyed sharing those photos. So, Ehet Mariam, Mama Shirley, I would
Yes.
like to thank you for sharing your life's journey and the photographs with our listeners, which includes, you know, we have national and international viewers. I also wish you and your family the best, and that you have many more years of love and service to give to the church and its community, and you continue steadfastly to serve God. Ehet Mariam, thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're at the end of another show, and it's been a life's journey well told to us by our elder stately mother. I hope you, my listeners, can feel a sense of attachment to Mama Shirley and motivated to keep our history and to move forward with confidence. I thank God for allowing us to continue this opportunity, and that our members can feel part of this sharing this life's journey. Our next show will hopefully take place a lot sooner. I did say at the beginning, at the start of this show, that we had two of my guests. They weren't well, but by God's grace, they are feeling a lot better. Hopefully, we can continue this show without this long break in the future. We do have other guests lined up, so please make Friday. I know you've been thinking about it, but Friday will be the time for this showing. Okay. Don't forget, please click the like button and leave your comments and subscribe. This is Wolde Amanu'el saying good night and sleep well. May God be praised. So until we meet again, Subhat Ligziabihir, Welde Tudingil, Maskel Gebre. Amen.